Welcome to Giants Nation player profiles and projections. And today is the finale. We always save quarterback one for last. And this year, that is Russell Wilson at 5'11, 206 pounds, 36 years old. I messed up his name. He signed a 1-year, $11 million contract with a lot of incentives that he can hit to be a Giants QB1 after they signed Jameis Winston and before they drafted Jackson Dart. This is the final PPP, and it's weird doing this and not it being a Daniel Jones one because my first year of doing it was Eli Manning, and then it was 5 straight years of Daniel Jones PPPs being like, is this the last one? Is this the last one? Well, last year was the last one, and Russell Wilson I think he's a one and done, Grump.
Yeah, Bobby, this is an exciting episode here. I know, we've been doing these PPPs for a while now, starting to get a little dry, but we saved the biggest, most important for last. And this is it. From here on out, this is all excitement. This is all hype for the season. So I'm excited to dive into this. And I agree. Russell Wilson is here for the 1 year, and I don't think that the Giants have any delusions about it being any more than that.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to. They signed Jameis Winston with a 2-year contract to be the backup next season, and then obviously they drafted Jackson Dart. But let's talk about Russell Wilson in the final PPP. People are going to be like, no more 5 episodes a week. I'm sorry about it. Russ last year for the Steelers completed 63% of his passes, 225 yards per game, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in 11 games. He ranked 21st in EPA per play, which EPA per play is not a perfect stat to judge somebody, but I think it's the best accumulation of like a box score. The Steelers averaged 23 points per game with him, which would be 13th in the NFL. He's a boomer bust player a lot of the times. We're going to talk about it. He is very much a deep to check down. He is an improvement of the Giants' from the Giants' last quarterback over the last couple of years. How much of an improvement is something we're going to talk about, but I think the one thing that is so exciting about Russell Wilson and not just being like, new quarterback, everything's good, is the fact that the one thing that he is good at still really good at is throwing that ball down the field. And the Giants have ranked bottom of the league and attempt rate for a long time now. And now they're going to go towards the top. I mean, Russ has ranked 2nd, 7th, and 7th the last 3 years in deep passer rating, while being 8th, 4th, and 1st in attempt rate. Like, he likes to throw deep and outside. He throws a beautiful ball. He's not sitting in there, driving the ball over the middle of stuff, but like he's gonna give our wide receivers opportunities to make plays down the field.
Yeah, Russell Wilson is excellent, especially pre-snap at identifying the one-on-ones and exploiting them. He absolutely trusts his number one wide receiver to be an alpha. I mean, if you just look at, the best of the Pittsburgh Steelers last year were just throws to George Pickett's. He's not afraid to give his wide receivers an opportunity to be wide receivers. I would say that he works to the sideline especially well. He likes working outside the hash as well, and he can do so from the pocket. He can also do so on the move outside the pocket, working a little bit better to his right than to his left. Um, I will say, there's going to be a lot of talk as we go through this about what he can do now versus what he used to be able to do. He's 36 years old. He will be 37 by the time this season ends. Um, but I think that while there are some things that he can improve on, or not that he can improve on, but where he has kind of fallen off a little bit, there is still plenty there that is good. And I think that, you nailed it, right? With the deep passes, working to the outside, that's what he does well, and he will absolutely get the most at, like, Malik Neighbors, I don't think will be complaining about opportunities to make plays on the ball.
No, and it's not just chucking it. It's not just, he throws the ball deep. Will Levis just throws the ball deep, and it's terrible, and he's bad at it. The reason why Russ is good at it is because, one, he just throws a beautiful ball. The moon ball is a real thing, but like, he has a good understanding of the game. We're gonna get to the middle of the field, and it's frustrating, and I think it has a lot to do with his height and stuff. But like, he has a very good understanding of the game pre-snap, and he plays with an aggressive mindset because guess what? Defenses don't want to just cover deep, 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 right? They want to take away those easier throws. And what Russ does is he says, hey, man, I know like that safety might take a chance. If that safety takes a chance, I'm looking at you, even though you're not, 8 times out of 10, you're not getting the ball in this play. Look for it. Darius Slayton has, talked about that in summer workouts. That like he keeps us alert on plays in the past where we weren't really looking for the ball. So he does it well pre-snap. And here's where I can see Russ improving because he's not changing as a player or like, wow, he got really better at this part of this game though. Is I think has the best wide receiver he's ever had in his career, Malik Neighbors. And Russ is very much pre-snap oriented and knowing where to go. And the Giants are going to give him pre-snap reads to try and get Malik Neighbors the football. And Malik Neighbors is going to get open. And Malik Neighbors is going to get open deep, which means they're going to start respecting him deep. And that means there's going to be underneath stuff, whether it's hitches and outs or posts or whatever. And Russell Wilson is going to find Malik Neighbors, and Malik Neighbors is going to be open, and Russ is going to get it to him on time and accurately. And that's where I'll say the biggest difference between Denver and Pittsburgh. Pickens is a good receiver, but he's not the guy you're trusting pre-snap every play. Cortland Sutton's a good player, but he's not on the level of Malik Neighbors. Um, Neighbors is somebody who's going to win on every single route, and Russ is going to find him. And I think that's where we can see a better version of Russ than what we've seen over the last 3 years. He's not going to just start utilizing the middle of the field a ton, but he's good at finding his number one option, and his number one option is the best one he's ever had in his career.
And I would even say if Malik Neighbors misses time at any point, even downgrading to Darius Slayton is kind of putting him right around where the Cortland Sutton range of wide receiver kind of is. So it's not like there's a drop off into like a level of, lowly depths of wide receiver talent that he's never had before either. I mean, I think that that's just sort of putting things back. Like Darius Slayton's been the number one wide receiver for this franchise since too many times. So if he has to be in that role for a short amount of time when Malik Neighbors can't play, it's still something that Russell Wilson can absolutely work with, and we have evidence of that in the past. You're absolutely right though about what he struggles with over the middle, and I think that he's aggressive in that he wants to take shots down the field and that he will take them. He likes to take his one-on-ones when they appear, but where he's not aggressive in that same way is the timing for the quick trigger anticipation of stuff over the middle. That's where you just see he doesn't just pull the trigger and make that throw and thread the needle.
Oh, well, let's even talk about it. I got to talk about his deep throw rate over the last 3 years is 8th, 4th, and 1st in the NFL for the 10 to 20 range. And this is not just middle of the field. This includes the sidelines. He's 42nd, 40th, and 38th. So that's either last or bottom 3 all of the last 3 seasons, and it hasn't been great before that, but I think the last 3 seasons is more indicative of what Russ is now compared to early in his career, so those are the numbers that I'm using. So, that's an issue, and that's gonna be frustrating at times with Russell Wilson. When you are playing good defenses who know how to take away what Russ is looking for and force him to go elsewhere, it's going to create issues. The Chiefs did it to him in the play in that, that Xmas Day game on Netflix. Like the Ravens were able to do it to him. That is going to be very frustrating. And the deep ball's not going to hit all the time, because you can hit that outside. Like it's throwing the ball deep doesn't take a ton of reading the defense, or they're not taking away that like crazy. It's very rare when they're just going to be double covering both outside receivers over the top. So he's going to be able to take a shot to Neighbors, Slayton, or even Hyatt here and there. But that's not a high success play. Even when we talk about Russell Wilson having, top of the NFL in completion rate, that's between like 45 and 50%. So on a bad day, you're hitting 1 for 5 and your offense isn't getting down the field because you're not hitting anything over the middle. So there's going to be frustrating times with Russ. And I'm sure Brian Dable is going to be frustrated at times with it too. But you just kind of have to live with it until you're ready to pull the trigger and go to Jackson Dart. Like that is what he is of his career. And we'll talk about the sacks as well too, and how he takes a lot of sacks. But it's just that middle of the field he's not hitting it, and the quick game. Like Wan'Dale Robinson, no matter what you think of him, his usage is going to go down a lot this year. Like it's just not going to get to the ball to him often or on time, because Russ, when he's using quick game, again, he's pre-snap oriented. So he's just kind of going to like look at what he's seeing. If he sees zone man, he's going to find his identifiers and he's going to force it in there. And if teams start catching on to what you do, they're going to trap some of that stuff. And It may not, it's not saying it's going to lead to interceptions or anything because Russ does take care of the ball, but it's going to lead to 4-yard passes on first down. And then if you have a bad run the next play or an incomplete pass the next play, then you're going to be third and behind the sticks, and that's where Russ can struggle too unless he's able to hit those vertical shots. So, um, that's where he's going to struggle is that regular quick game. Like Russ's quick game is throwing the ball vertically to the sideline, and it's a lot of under center play action, roll him out, hit the tight end, whoever else in the flat. Like, and it's just we didn't even mention this part. It's very heavy deep to check down. Like our running backs are going to get a lot of receptions this year. They may not be the most healthy ones, and we're talking about, oh wow, we're getting the running backs involved in the receiving game, and that's beautiful. But it's a lot of times it's going to be Malik Neighbors to Theo Johnson and Tyrone Tracy, and that's the progression that Russell's going to live under.
Well, and here's why this is good for the Giants, right? Because um, that's not, the perfect quarterback. We're not describing the perfect quarterback. That inability to hit the intermediate stuff with quick trigger stuff and the quick game, that's, you want to be able to hit that. That's an important part of an offense. But why this is okay for the Giants, why they can survive like this, Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton cover your deep. Your intermediate with Theo Johnson, with somebody who has that kind of height, that will work for you too. And then you have all three running backs with that, whether it be Devin Singletary, Cam Scatterbu, or Tyrone Tracy, all three of them great receivers out of the backfield, all of them good hands. So they are set up to maximize what Russell Wilson gives you in a lot of ways. Obviously the offensive line is going to leave some, you know, some things to be desired, and we'll get into the sacks and stuff in a little bit here. But I just want to, go through a couple things that Russell Wilson is and pretty much always has been. Number one, he's not really been hurt very often. Last year, he missed the first 6 games for the Pittsburgh Steelers after re-aggravating a calf injury. That was the most games he's ever missed in his career. Prior to that, he had never missed more than 2 games in a season. He's always been careful with the football. He has 350 career touchdowns to 111 interceptions. It's more than a 3-to-1 ratio. In 2020 was the most interceptions he's ever had, was 13 in a season. It was also the most touchdowns he's ever had and the most attempts he's ever had in a season. He's also only ever had 6 fumbles, was the most he's ever had in a single season. So all of these things are things that Russell Wilson has consistently been, whether it be the last 3 years, which people have considered have been his worst years, or the very beginning of his career where he was electric and on fire. He's always been those 3 things: reliably healthy and careful with the football. That's 2 things.
Jackhammer. Uh, so and one of those things about being, Grump, what is the keys to being reliable? What is one of the biggest keys to being reliable?
Being available?
What's another one?
Uh, I don't know. Are you leading me into an ad?
Yes, I am.
I guess hydrated is
Hydration.
hydration is definitely a key to being available and on the field. And this player profile and projection is brought to you by Body Armor Sports Drink. Rewrite your routine and choose better with Body Armor. Body Armor is real hydration with electrolytes, coconut water, but no artificial flavors, dyes, or sweeteners like this fruit punch that I have in my hand right now. I bought an 8-pack, so if you keep seeing me with fruit punch, that's why.
Or orange mango.
Or orange mango. We have great tasting flavors, also like strawberry banana. So Body Armor will level up your hydration game. Grab Body Armor Sports Drink today at your local grocery store. Body Armor, choose better. You'll be glad you did.
Be glad you did. So like you said, that's where like they're getting, and like there's some stability there with Russell Wilson. And then I do want to like finish off like with like what are the expectations for Russell Wilson and not just talk about who he is. The last thing I want to talk about his game is the sacks. And these numbers aren't perfect. But I think they do a decent enough job, and it's quarterback allowed pressure and quarterback allowed sacks, basically being like, what percentage of a quarterback's pressure are they responsible for? Then how many sacks are they responsible for not getting rid of the ball when somebody's open or, for whatever reason. Last year, he was 3rd highest of 42 in allowed pressure rate, 10th most sacks allowed. And you got to think he missed 5 games last year. In 2023, most highest in allowed pressure rate, most sacks allowed, and 22, 13th in allowed pressure rate, fifth most sacks allowed. He just holds onto the ball way too long when, like we said, he's very first read to check down. When that first read's not there and where he's thinking it's going to be, it's turns into like, put his head down, try and find the running back. It's very rarely, like we talked about, getting into the middle of the field. It's kind of one and the same. It's very rarely like, all right, let me get to the back side of this, or find the second guy in the progression. And that, a lot of times, he's gonna be able to find his check down. But when teams start blanketing that, well, then that's when it gets in trouble, and that's when you start taking all these sacks. And it's always been an issue for Russ, but it's become more of an issue as he's lost some of his athleticism, where he's just not the same athlete that he was early in his career. He's not rushing for a lot of yards, and he doesn't have that ability to escape the way. Because, I mean, you remember Russ at his prime with Seattle, there was some miracle plays in there, and that's just not going to happen for him anymore.
Yeah, I think the magic is pretty much gone, but what's left after the magic is left is still a veteran quarterback with a lot of really good traits. So, but I don't think that the Giants are expecting magic from him. They didn't pay for magic. A couple of years ago, Denver gave up the entire farm for him. They gave away 2 firsts, 2 seconds, Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, and Noah Fant for him and a fourth. The Giants are giving him $10 million. He has an $11 million fully guaranteed cap hit this year. They know exactly what they're getting with him. They knew that there was not this huge market for him in the offseason. So, but what they are getting is a natural leader who understands the game and still can throw the ball well. What he's always done well, he still does well, and what he's never done well, he doesn't do well anymore. They're not looking for him to be ripping off 60-yard runs, or Eli Manning his way out of a 2007 Super Bowl sack and then launching one downfield to David Tyree. They're not looking for that for him. They're looking for a reliable veteran quarterback with good leadership to make this team competitive and get the most out of the roster until it's time that Jackson Dart is ready, and not a moment sooner.
Yeah, and like you said, he brings some stability where it's like, all right, we're going to create explosives. We're not going to turn over the ball a ton. We're going to find our checkdowns. We're going to feed Malik Neighbors the correct way, and that's going to bring some consistency to the offense. Now, here's where I want to talk about though, like, because he's certainly an improvement. I did for a mailbag exercise of like ranking quarterbacks in the NFL. Uh, and I had him at like 22nd. You can argue that he's above, yeah, a few of those guys. Maybe you can move up to 19th or whatever, but like that's kind of the range he's in. So with that, what is like the goal for Russell Wilson? I think it can't be like a terrible win-loss record. Like at the end of the day, wins are not totally a quarterback stat, but here's the difference. The Giants have been touting if it wasn't for that quarterback, we'd be winning so many more games. Like it's not everything, it's such an important position. And I know that eventually you'll go to Dart, but I do think the expectation from within is to win games, not to be 1-4. I'm not now, also not to be 7-5 or whatever, but like they've got to be able to be competitive against good teams and beat some good teams. Don't need to go undefeated or anything, but I feel like that has to be what they're looking for out of Russ to be successful. Because if Russ is 1-6 and they're saying, well, tough schedule and we're moving to the next quarterback, then that's certainly that upgrade certainly isn't making us sleep any better at night.
So I agree, and it's easy to just make this like a Daniel Jones versus Russell Wilson comparison, but I think what aids in getting wins is scoring points, and that sounds very Moneyball, very like Jonah Hill, but hear me out on this one. Prior to the tough stretch that ended the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers of Philadelphia, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Cincinnati, you had mentioned that he had 23 points per game last year. Prior to that stretch, it was 28 points per game. The Giants also upgraded their pass rush quite a bit this offseason. By adding Abdul Carter alone adds a whole other dimension to this defense that we are anticipating what has not been seen in a while. Mix that in with Brian Burns playing at a high level going into this season, Dexter Lawrence being Dexter Lawrence, etc. Um, Defenses can struggle when they are constantly playing from behind. They're not able to play to their strengths when they're playing from behind. The best defense is a good offense. An offense that scores lots of points means another team has to start sacrificing their game plan for chunk plays. And it means you can pin your ears back as a defense. When a defense is playing from behind, they have to respect everything. And they could, then, the Giants struggle against the run and that sort of thing. Scoring points on offense will make the defense better. It should make the defense
Yep.
better. So, you get to the point of scoring 28 points per game, then, you know, the entire dynamic of the football game changes. It's not just offense and defense. Football is not split that much black and white. It's very much a complete game.
The Steelers averaged 23 points per game in the NFL last year with Russ. That would have been 13th in the NFL. That's the goal. Above that middle mark of 16th. Like that's my reasonable goal for this offense under Russell Wilson. Like that, then that should be the goal. And here's where like what is our projection for Russell Wilson? I think it depends on one, the health of Malik Neighbors. I think if Malik Neighbors goes down, we're looking at a bad offense. No duh, Bobby. But I think it's and how good will be the connection with Darius Slayton down the field? Because I think that is the ultimate within Russ's game can take this offense because like, yeah, all right, that's cool that you doubled Neighbors and stuff and you took away the underneath and you had a safety over the top. But you left Darius Slayton one-on-one and we're hitting him down the field for explosives. I think that is the X factor of how good is this offense with Russell Wilson. I really think it is that connection with Darius Slayton on the outside. I don't have any like, oh, we got to get Wandale the ball down the field or more quick game or, Tyrone Tracy. No, I think that is the biggest X factor because Russ or Malik Neighbors is going to eat with no matter what quarterback he has. But there's going to be teams that look to take away Neighbors, and it's not, oh, well, Russ is going to hit the middle of the field now. No, it's how is it going to connect with Darius Slayton down the field? I think that is the X factor of what we see out of Russell Wilson in this offense, and can it be ranked 12th, 13th, or whatever? And the run game has a lot to do with that as well, too, and how defenses play the Giants. But, again, no matter what, you're going to be able to hit one of those. You can't double both those receivers. So when you're getting Darius Slayton one-on-ones, how well are they able to connect?
No, you nailed it. And the one thing I would add to that is that if that connection works where they really have to respect the deep ball, where you now have to play, too high all the time. We say he can't really work the middle of the field really, really well. But number one, I think that Brian Dable is a savvy enough offensive mind and Mike Kafka to find ways to manufacture that in some way, shape, or form. And if it comes down to just the checkdowns, I mean, like I said, if they have to respect both receivers deep and with both receivers on the field and like an 11 personnel, I don't care who that running back is out of the backfield. If it's any one of the three that they have signed to the 53-man roster right now, all three of them should be able to eat. I mean, Cam Scatterbo, if he catches the ball and the only thing trying to tackle him is a DB, I'm pretty confident that if he's not breaking the tackle, he's falling forward. If it's Tyrone Tracy, I'm pretty confident that he's going to make a man miss. And if it's Devin Singletary, well, worst case scenario, he should be open.
Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. So do good. Do good. New quarterback, new team, do good. So we're closing out the player profiles. Always a little emotional. It's not as emotional as the end of draft coverage or end of the season or really anything. It's almost a little bit of relief because we are freaking just doing podcasts every single day. So hope you guys enjoyed them. We'll be back for PPPs next year. And we upward and onward. So, Russell Wilson, should we do the will he be a New York Giant in 2026? The answer is no.
Answers.
There's really no scenario, like short of winning the Super Bowl, where that
Even then,
if he wins the Super Bowl, we're bringing him back. I don't care. Say all the Vikings. Oh, I don't care. We're bringing him back. The day we learn. No, I didn't. I won a Super Bowl. All right. We'll see you when we see you. Until then, let's go Big Blue.